Hi, Nazneen. Let's take a look at this new set of essays. Okay. First, we've got the one about pollution. Let's see what you said here, okay? Experts from both the developing and developed world have been debating the issue of worsening environmental pollution, particularly in large cosmopolitan cities worldwide. Worldwide is usually one word. I believe the main reason behind it is increasing automobiles and industrial emissions. All right, you could have also said what you think solutions are. That's another thing you could have said. It didn't ask you just about why this is happening, but also what the solutions are. So you could have said, I believe the main reasons behind it are increasing automobiles and industrial emissions. However, solutions are available. In this essay, I will discuss these reasons and solutions by citing examples with an S from GEE and the IMF. Let's move on. There is ample evidence that the people living in major cities around the world are facing serious consequences due to carbon emissions polluting the environment. The central reason behind this is twofold. One word, no S. Twofold. Firstly, increasing use of automobiles, like cars and buses for transport, causes emissions of toxic gases, which leads to air pollution and global warming, which in turn has a negative impact on health and the environment. A recent report by Global Environmental Energy Agency showed that in China, the number of cars on the road has increased by 20% since last year, and this has led to a 75% increase in air pollution in major Chinese cities. Governments around the world are tackling this issue in many ways, and a recent report by IMF indicated that levying 50 to 100% taxes on sales of cars will reduce car sales by 25% and thereby reduce, not reducing, toxic emissions by 60% and simultaneously encouraging people to do carpooling. How about this? Encourage people to carpool and use public transport to commute. What happened with your grammar? Let's look. Thereby, will reduce car sales by 25%, thereby reducing toxic emissions by 60% and simultaneously encouraging people to carpool and use public transport to commute. You see, I start from the beginning, but then something happens in the middle and it just becomes complicated. You've got a lot of ideas in this sentence, and sometimes that gets kind of hairy. So let's see what we can do. So let's try it again from the beginning, okay? So governments around the world are tackling this issue in many ways, and a recent report by IMF indicated that levying 50 to 100% taxes on sales of cars will reduce car sales by 25%, reducing toxic emissions by 60%, and simultaneously encouraging people to carpool and use public transportation to commute, greatly reducing pollution. So you're on the right track, but you don't really have the right components, like, the dependent clauses where you need an ing, like a participle. So this is some advanced grammar, and I want you to work on this a little bit. They're called participle clauses, where they kind of depend on what happens before and after. So look up some of this information to see how you can improve your grammar a little bit. Secondly, the industrialization and inappropriate disposal of toxic industrial waste has increased the level of air and water pollution significantly. The recent Environmental Global Summit report showed that 50 million tons, with an S, of industrial waste, no S, is disposed of in the sea and oceans, plural, leading to major destruction of marine life and causing significant health issues for people living in coastal regions. Therefore, I believe there should be stringent laws for industrial waste disposal, and heavy fines should be imposed on companies and governments not abiding by these laws. Okay, so what have you done here? We'll talk about, you know what? Before we talk about what you did here, let's talk about your conclusion. In conclusion, pollution is a global phenomenon with serious dire consequences, and the two major reasons with an S for pollution should be tackled in a firm and decisive manner. Now, great, fine. Your conclusion is fine. But let's talk about this. Basically, what you did is you decided to talk about the problem and the solution in one paragraph, the problem and the solution in another paragraph. Here, I can tell you 100% for sure, you did not develop this enough. Look at this. You've got this big, enormous paragraph here, and then you've got this little itty-bitty paragraph, which is like half the size. That's not a good idea. It looks like you're talking about one issue far more than you are the other issue, and that's not going to help with your task achievement. So, here, I saw problems here, so let's look at this a little bit. You basically said that there were a lot of problems with water and air pollution. You explained the problems, and then you just said that there should be stringent laws. What you never did was you never explained to us how these stringent laws help, how they help, what they do to affect this pollution, in what ways it helps. So what I'm missing here is the how and the why. You never explained to me why they would help. You never explained to me how they would help. And this is an underdeveloped paragraph. You see, what people typically do in these essays is they talk about the problems in one paragraph and they talk about the solutions in another paragraph. And what happens a lot of times is that the solution paragraph ends up looking like a bulleted list. So solution 1, solution 2, solution 3, solution 4. You didn't do that. You structured it differently. You had problem and solution in one paragraph. But what you did also do, which is pretty common, is that you never really explored your solutions. You never explained how your solutions are solutions, and so it's underdeveloped. Okay, you needed to get into a lot more detail about the solutions, why they are solutions, how they could help, what they could do, and just explore a little more. That was missing for me here. Okay? So let's take a look at what else you've written for us. I mean, the rest of it was fine. I've obviously corrected a lot of grammar, a lot of lexical resources and other things. So let's look at your next essay. All right, so let's look at this about the car sales. Let's see what you wrote. The graph, it's not, all right. The graph presents the car sales of 3 brands in certain European countries in 2018. The bar chart compares 3 different brands of car. Well, I don't know why you have 2 different sentences for this. So get rid of this. I don't know why you have it. Get rid of it. And our answer should just start. The bar chart compares 3 different brands of cars sold in 9 European countries in 2018. The highest number of cars were sold in Hungary, and all 3 brands of cars were sold in almost equal numbers of 100 to 120. Don't forget, it's thousands. You see that 000 right there? That means we're talking about thousands. The second highest number of cars was sold in France. Let's see if that's true. Yeah, it's true. Where 120,000 BMWs were sold, and Ford sales were comparable at approximately 110,000 cars and about only 70,000 Audis, full stop. The total car sales in Germany, Ireland, and Holland were similar, with 250,000 to 260,000 cars sold. However, there were significant differences in sales of different brands in these countries. In Germany and Ireland, more BMWs were sold at 120,000 and 110,000 respectively, while in Holland, Ford sales were higher than Audi and BMW, reaching almost 120,000. Belgium and Italy sold the least number of cars at approximately 70,000 to 110,000 total. The car sales in Belgium were less than the, I don't know what you're talking about, the sales of only BMW in France or Ford in Hungary. The total car sales in Italy were 1/3 of the total cars sold in Hungary that year. Overall, you can't talk about the maximum. Maximum means that you could sell more cars. So, overall, the highest number of cars were sold in Hungary and France, capital F, and the least car sales were noted in Italy and Belgium. And amongst the three brands, comma, BMW was sold the most in 5 out of 9 European, capital E, countries, IES, that year. So here's what's happening. Number one, we've clearly got a problem with some of the grammar. I'm also not hugely thrilled with how you organize this answer. Now, a lot of people have a hard time with this because they don't know really what they're supposed to focus on. So a lot of people focus too much on the individual car sales. They really just don't know what to do. I'm going to talk to you about it really as quickly and as easily as possible. You've got a couple of different pieces of information here. First of all, this is called a stacked bar chart. So what is it showing us here? It's showing you all of the car sales in France of these three companies, focusing on this top number, and then it's telling you which car companies made up this total number. The same thing for Hungary. So we know that Hungary's sales were around 400,000, and guess what? Ford made up this much, Audi made up this much, and BMW made up this much. So when you're going to talk about this, there are a couple of ways to do it. Number one, obviously, introduction. Number two, overview. My personal opinion, okay? Some people say put it to the end. I say put it right after the introduction. It's an overview, not a conclusion. So let's assume you do that. An overview here would be that Hungary sold the most cars and Belgium sold the least. Done. That's it. Okay, so then what are you going to talk about? The first detailed paragraph should talk about these totals. Hungary completely sold the most. Belgium sold the least. Or how about this? Hungary sold the most, then France. Okay, those were the top two. Then you've got Belgium and Italy at the bottom two. And then you've got these remaining 5 countries selling somewhere in the middle. Okay? Lump them together, talk about their figures, talk about their range, and then you're done. Then you need to talk about the individual car companies themselves. So a good place to start is obviously with BMW because that's the easiest figure to locate. You could say that in most of the countries, BMW sold roughly 100,000. Use these numbers along the side. They're there to help you. BMW sold approximately 100,000 cars in all the countries except for Belgium, where it sold a negligible amount of cars. Okay? Then guess what? You're done with BMW. You don't have to talk about it anymore. Talk about Ford. Ford sold, figure out what this number is, figure out what this number is for Holland. So it sold X number of cars in Holland and X number in Hungary. The least Ford cars were sold in Germany and Italy. Say what that number is. And then say for the remaining countries it sold between whatever the figure is in Poland and whatever this figure is in France. And then you're done with Ford. Okay? Do something similar with Audi. It's really not that difficult. You just have to kind of figure out what these numbers refer to. UK, Belgium, Italy, very few Audis. Hungary and Germany sold the most. You don't have to talk about anything else. That's it. Okay? Just those, 2 sentences, 4 data points. That's it, and you're done. Okay? So that's a nice, clean way of talking about it. one paragraph for the totals, these, and then a separate paragraph talking about the individual car companies within the countries, but knowing when to group. All right, I hope that helps. I hope that helps you kind of organize your thinking, how to think about these numbers, how to think about these graphs and these charts, and how to organize them. If you have any questions, please tell me in your email so that I can help you with, some additional information. Okay, let's see what you write for us next time. I'll be waiting. Good luck.